No-hitters are rare. I think pretty much every baseball fan knows this at this point. They're also extremely exciting for everyone involved. Like here, for example. This is New York Mets pitcher Tommy Hunter talking to the media after a 2021 game. He mentions they asked him to pitch the second inning of a game after he was only supposed to pitch the first, which he did without giving up a hit.
I walk in to the dugout and they asked me if I wanted to go out, and I was like, you know, I got a no-hitter going. Yeah, I want to go back out, right?
Tommy had 8 more innings to go when he started getting excited about a no-hitter. And he was excited, of course, because like I said in the very first line of this video, no-hitters are rare. To detail exactly how rare it is though, over every regular season game that has ever been played in the MLB, only 318 of them have been no-hitters. 318 no-hitters in almost 155 seasons of Major League Baseball and counting. Now, that would mean, of course, that having 2 no-hitters in one season by the same pitcher is even more rare, only happening 5 times ever. But there has only ever been, and very likely will only ever be, one man who has thrown 2 no-hitters in 2 starts in a row. And his name is John C. God, that meme's such a throwback. You remember that one? Nah, but seriously, his name is Johnny Vandermeer. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Stark Raving Sports. My name is SRS Fico. As always, if you like this video, please consider subbing to the channel. It really helps us out a lot, and maybe even drop a like. Anyways, without further ado,
let's crack straight into it.
Meet Mr. Meer. John Samuel Vandermeer was born on November 2nd, 1914 in Prospect Park, New Jersey, the same place this is from.
I'm sweeping the cheese. I'm trying to leave the cheese there, all right? I love cheese at my feet.
And this. His first Major League appearance was on April 22nd, 1937, when, at the age of 22, he played his first MLB game with the Cincinnati Reds. 1938 would mark his first full season in the MLB, though. MLB though. That sounds funny. MLB though. His Saber page reports that if he didn't stick around with the Reds in 1938, he seriously considered just quitting baseball. And good thing he didn't, because he was about to do something that was as close to impossible as it gets. Playing for the Reds on June 11th, 1938, Vandermeer is up against the Boston Bees. You know who they are. They're called the Atlanta Braves now. Let's talk about the game now, shall we? Up until the bottom of the 3rd inning, this game is a no-scoring war between Vandermeer and Danny McRun-That-Faden, the Bees pitcher. One after another, batters came up, batters were sent back to the dugout.
He'll say some stuff on the way by, and he'll show Timmons where that pitch was.
Funny enough, the first person to actually get on base this entire game was Johnny Vandy himself, hitting a single to left field. The Reds would bring home the first run at the bottom of the 4th, and as a no-hitter would usually indicate, that's all he needed for the day. You probably know this by now, but just in case you don't, which there's no shame in that, we're all here to learn. A no-hitter doesn't mean that no one ever got on base. That's called a perfect game.
The 2-2. He got him! 34 years, 119 games. It's finally happened.
So there were times in this game, such as the 5th inning, when players from the Bees did get on base. They were walked. At the top of the 5th, Mr. Vandermeer walks 2 separate players. I mean, of course it didn't really matter since the Reds still got 3 outs without having any actual hits that inning.
And a long one to left. That ball is out of here.
So I mean, you know, whatever. After those 2 walks from the Bees in the 5th inning and one that happened in the 4th that I forgot to mention until now, no Bee did anything valuable offensively for the rest of the game. And gamers, there it was. Johnny Vandermeer's first no-hitter of his career. 9 innings, 3 walks, 0 hits, 0 runs. Johnny didn't even notice until just about the very end though. The Baseball Hall of Fame's website has an article about the game with a quote from Johnny saying, "Gee, I had no idea of pitching a no-hitter. My arm felt better as I went along. I just kept pouring them in." Even if he didn't pick up on it until the end, it was a beautifully pitched no-hitter. And not only would it not be his last, it wouldn't even be his last for the season. Or even his career, or even for the next week. Mans was cooking. And speaking of cooking, this video is sponsored by HelloFresh. Remember those New Year's goals you promised yourself you'd stick to? HelloFresh is there to help you eat better by delivering fresh ingredients and easy recipes right to your door, taking the hassle out of dinner time. You can even customize select meals by swapping proteins or sides, or even adding protein to a veggie dish.
all the sausage.
And now you can even upgrade for organic chicken or organic ground beef. You will only find quality ingredients in HelloFresh recipes.
Am I doing it right, Papa?
Yes, my son.
In fact, ingredients travel from the farm to your home in less than 7 days, so you know they're fresh. After receiving the HelloFresh kit, I cooked it, as you can see. And man, it was pretty gosh darn good. I had the Italian beef Sammy. The real name is on screen. Man, it was delicious. Words cannot describe how excited I am to cook and eat the next 2 meals. The simplicity of having all the ingredients pre-measured for you is absolutely a dream. Ladies and gentlemen, I love HelloFresh, and you will too. I know I've been memeing this entire ad, but after I cooked the meal and actually ate it once this video was done, it was really good. I'm actually excited to cook the next 2. If you want to taste the same flavor I'm tasting, plus many, many more, go to HelloFresh.com and use code StarkRavingSports65 for 65% off, plus free shipping. That's HelloFresh.com, using code StarkRavingSports65 for 65% off, plus free shipping. HelloFresh. If you're looking for something that tastes good, it's right here. Cause it tastes really freaking good. Yeah. Thank you, HelloFresh, for sponsoring this video. Anyways, let's get back to it. Thanks, HelloFresh. So all of this happened when he was just 23 years old. 23. Imagine being a 23-year-old and you're in the major leagues throwing a no-hitter.
It's a no-hitter!
For your first actual full season in the majors. Man, I cannot stress enough how crazy that is. Maybe I'm just having an existential crisis, but like, damn. Anyways, back to the video.
Ah, shit. Here we go again.
Here we go. June 15th, 1938. Literally just 4 days later, and during the first Dodgers night game of all time, Johnny Vandermeer did it again. By the way, with almost 40,000 people there to see it live. Hey, watch it, I'm striking out here. God, that was so bad. Man, ain't it crazy how much teams just move around? This game was such a big deal, by the way. Let me just cover that. It was the first night game in New York sports history. Johnny was riding the hype of the first no-hitter. Jesse Owens was there as just part of the festivities, and Babe Ruth was in attendance where he congratulated Johnny on the first no-hitter. I've made videos on both of those 2 guys, by the way, if you want to check them out. Point is, that night was kind of huge for Johnny before he even threw the first pitch, before the thought of a second no-hitter in a row even entered anyone's mind. In this game, things started fairly similar to the last game, where nothing really happens for the first couple of innings, until a 4-run outburst from the Reds in the 3rd started them off. Blah, 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 more the same, blah, blah, blah. Let's just get to the good parts. No runs will be put up until the top of the 7th, when Harry Kraft hits a single, bringing Ivel Goodman home. And after a fly ball to right from Lou Riggs, and, you know, some walks and stuff in the bottom of the 7th, that leaves the score 5-0 Reds. The Reds would score again in the top of the 8th when Wally Berger hits a triple to center, letting our boy Vandermeer score. What a gamer. Try to count how many 1930s baseball names sounded like they were AI generated. You could count in that little synopsis right there, by the way. And at this point, ladies and gentlemen, no one knew it yet, but this game was over. At the bottom of the 8th, Johnny Vandermeer struck out all 3 batters that came up. And at the top of the 9th, Vito Tamoulis struck out all the Reds batters. But this game was officially over when at the bottom of the 9th, Vander had a ground out, then a walk, then another walk, then another walk, then a ground out, then a fly ball, and it was all over. He just so happened to get lucky enough with 3 people on base that he all walked, that the last batter hit a fly ball and it was caught. But hey, there it is. Vandermeer has just thrown 2 no-hitters in 2 games in a row. And here's the crazy thing that I haven't mentioned yet, or well, kind of just alluded to. He kind of sucked this game. He had 8 walks in his 9 innings pitched. 8 walks is pretty disgusting, especially if you're not striking out everyone else, which he didn't. He only had 7 strikeouts out of the 27 outs recorded. You know that famous no-hitter AJ Burnett pitch when he walked 9 guys? Yeah, the second Johnny Vandermeer no-hitter was that, but before World War II. Not every no-hitter is created equal, but you know what? Screw it, who cares? Johnny did it. That's all that matters, right? Starting in 2 games back-to-back and having both of them be no-hitters. And it's not like it was just some random game against Jim Bob and Jim Jam Burrow. These were against actual MLB teams. It's not like he pitched against the YouTubers baseball team that some of the SRS guys played on. 2 no-hitters in 2 straight games for an MLB pitcher is unthinkable, and to this day, it's a record that has never been broken. And probably will never be broken, because who in their right mind is going to pitch 3 MLB no-hitters in 3 straight starts? It is such an insane record that is so hard to achieve that to this day, it has not only never been broken, but it's never even been matched. And better yet, the guy who did it was considering quitting baseball just earlier that year. Again, just think about how rare a no-hitter is and try to think about how that compares to doing it 2 times in a row. There's a reason this record hasn't been broken to this day, more than 80 years later. Now, of course, as I kind of talked about earlier, we can't give all the credit to Vandermeer himself. Without his infield and outfield backup being on point, this second no-hitter would have never happened. I mean, that's how no-hitters work, and every rational, sane pitcher who has ever pitched will tell you the same thing. I mean, he didn't strike out every single batter that came up. As one could imagine, doing this in the summer of 1938 made everyone pretty high on Johnny. He started in the 1938 All-Star game for the National League that summer, the first of 4 All-Star appearances he'd have in his career. A 4-time All-Star who, both predictably and strangely in a weird way, will only be known for this. But he also wouldn't go down as a Hall of Famer. He'd go on to lose 2 more games than he'd win in the major leagues throughout his career. He would never become the best pitcher in baseball. And honestly, that's the most beautiful thing about this story. The same guy who pitched 2 straight no-hitters in a row was not this absolute god of pitching. He was a guy who found himself in the perfect storm and took advantage of the moment. That right there is baseball if I've ever seen it. The extremely weird, insanely unpredictable, and story-rich game that is baseball. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate every single last one of you. And if you made it to the very end of this video, head down to the comments and type 2 in a row. I want to see who stuck it out all the way to the end. I also got a new microphone recently, so I'd love to hear if it sounds better. It's really expensive, so I sure hope it does. Anyways, have a lovely day, gamers. Peace.